Comfortable. My name is Gabrielle Kelly and I'm the Director of the Adelaide Thinkers in Residence, and I welcome you here tonight. I acknowledge that we meet tonight on Kaurna land and we honour the spiritual connection of the Kaurna people to the land, and we honour the elders past and present. Well, here we are again. Hands up those who were here last year. Can I see? Have a look around. Ah yeah, old friends. Excellent. Thank you. Not too many cities in the world, I think, that have professors of early childhood education with their names up in lights on a rock and roll arena. I think there's something particularly fantastic about that, and this is the second time we've done it on behalf of early childhood. Welcome, Professor Carla Rinaldi. Welcome back to our shores. Welcome to the Governor, Rear Admiral Kevin Scarce and Mrs Scarce, and welcome to Minister Jennifer Rankin. Thank you so much for coming. I'd like to make a particular welcome to our fabulous partners in the Carla Rinaldi residency, and you can see their names here. The Department for Education and Child Development, Good Start Early Learning, Catholic Education South Australia, the Association of Independent Schools South Australia, Early Childhood Organisation, Early Childhood Australia, the Local Government Association, the Reggio Emilia Australia Information Exchange, the Council of Educational Facility Planners International, the Office for Design and Architecture SA, the Australia Centre for Social Innovation, and our treasured universities, University of Adelaide, Flinders University and the University of South Australia, and Northern Connections. I forgot to make a particular welcome to Jan Milliken, who's come over from Melbourne from the Reggio Emilia Australia Information Exchange. Thanks for being here with us, Jan, and working with us on the exhibition that you'll hear about later. We especially welcome all of you, the early childhood educators, teachers and parents, the about 1,800 people who've booked in to come tonight. And I know that some of you have come in really large groups, which I happen to really love, and in this case it sometimes represents whole schools or whole regions or whole groups of people who've been working together through the year, such as 93 educators from Good Start Early Learning, more than 50 people in a particular group, and hundreds of individuals from the Department for Education and Child Development, hundreds of people also from Catholic Education, to name a few. Can I see a show of hands, those of you who've come in a big group? Yeah, fabulous, fabulous. That includes some boards of schools, and it's a real thrill for us because we know that if you're coming in a group together, you're talking about these concepts and in fact leading them forward in your space. And I have to say that there's more things that have happened during this residency among you than has ever happened before in a residency in the 4 years that I've been running Adelaide Thinkers in Residence. So I thank you all for your leadership. In the last 2 years, the Thinkers program has tended to... Before this, we focused on a lot of the hard science and science, like water, advanced manufacturing, road safety, etc. But in the last 2 years, we focused on how we live, how our society works, and who we are as human beings and groups of human beings at different stages in the life journey. The old, the young, and everyone in between, with Dr. Alex Calichet and Dr. Martin Seligman. But in asking Professor Carla Rinaldi and Reggio children to help us reimagine childhood here in South Australia, we've embarked upon maybe the boldest and most creative work of the entire Thinkers in Residence program, in my opinion. After all, what brings a good future forward? It's how we act in the present with an eye on the future. Bringing Carla here is like throwing a grappling hook into the future and pulling hard. The past always gives way to the future through our actions in the present, but the kind of future we build is up to us. The ideas of the Reggio approach, they lure us towards an idea of a better future, where things go very well for children, where they are really valued, not just by their parents and the people who love them in their family, but by all of us. The children, after all, are both the future, and yet they are simultaneously the essence of the present. Each child launches into life and claims each day as its own justification in a unique life. But together, the children give rise to the future of our society by their very being, by their journey towards their potential, their vision and their drive for love, for learning, becoming who they are, and their desire to be living their own good life every day. We, the adults, have the obligation to facilitate this, to support them in their life journey, and that's how we unleash a bright future for our society and ourselves. We can't have a great future unless our children are really thriving. Now, unlike us, many of the children of today have 21st century childhoods, and they are going to have a future that we cannot even imagine. So we're helping them into an unknown future that they will create. We all need them, and they need to be well, to be creative, and to be absolutely full to the brim with their own capacity. What could be more important then than building a society that treasures children in the present and for the future? Just exactly what in the world could be more important than that? Now, you've come to us tonight in big numbers to hear from Carla and to hear her keen insights into how we might do that. Tonight's event will be structured a little differently than many of our final lectures. As most of you know, Carla's first language is Italian, so we thought that it might work better if she shared with you some of her big ideas and key philosophies in a conversation with both with me and after a few formal remarks at the beginning. A few of you too, will join us on stage to explain what's been happening in South Australia, and then we'll discuss some of Carla's recommendations, but not in complete detail. We'll be putting all of her recommendations in a great deal of detail in a report which we'll publish within 16 weeks. At this stage, we're not planning to have a question and answer this evening, and I will work hard to make sure that we finish on time. Of course, we want you to tweet this event, and we challenge you to unleash more than the 39,000 Twitter interactions which we achieved just 2.5 weeks ago in this same venue. So please help us break all of our records by tweeting #ReChildhood, as you can see on the screen. Hands up those who are going to be tweeting, let me see. Excellent, excellent. If you've never done it before, do have a try. Now, please though, settle in comfortably. This will be a night for you to relax and really let your minds follow Carla's thoughts. There's a conversation that will be deep and broad, and I think you're going to really enjoy settling in comfortably and listening to this conversation with our dear friend, Professor Carla Rinaldi. But first, may I ask the Minister for Education, Jennifer Rankin, if she would mind coming to the stage to introduce Carla and make a few comments. And may I say that the Premier of South Australia, who was planning to be here, has been held up and sends his best wishes and apologies for not being here. Minister Rankin.
Thanks, Gab, and good evening, everyone. Can I acknowledge that we meet tonight on the land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with country? Can I also acknowledge the presence of Rear Admiral Kevin Scarce, the Governor of South Australia, and Mrs Scarce, Professor Rinaldi, and all of you wonderful people who have come along in such large numbers tonight. It's just a little over a year ago that Professor Rinaldi began her residency here with us in South Australia, bringing her insights and those of the Reggio Emilia approach to early learning. The fact that we meet this evening in this huge venue with nearly every seat filled is a tribute to both Professor Rinaldi and the Reggio Emilia approach. It's also a strong indication that people here in South Australia are very keen to embrace the early learning philosophy, and it's a strong endorsement of our state government's commitment to caring for, protecting and educating our children. And that's not simply a motherhood statement. It goes without saying there is a fundamentally important human aspect to nurturing children. It is also, without doubt, about our future economic prosperity. Nobel Prize-winning economist James Heckman has assessed the rate of return for investment in quality early childhood education as 7 to 10% per year for the life of a child. And for those of us here tonight who aren't Nobel Prize-winning economists, I'm reliably informed this means you double your investment every 7 to 10 years. Even the hardest-hearted of financial analysts would agree this is a very respectable rate of return for any investment in any field. Here in South Australia, we haven't just studied from afar. We have greatly benefited from the work of the late Dr. Fraser Mustard, who spent time with us in 2006 and 2007. Dr. Mustard said, "The challenge for all societies is to close the gap between what we know about the determinants of early childhood development and what we do." We knew we had to do more, and Dr. Mustard confirmed that. And shortly we will hear from the Professor about what else we can do. In the meantime, it's important to highlight the significant amount of work that has and is being done with the benefit of Professor Rinaldi's input. There are more than 35 prototypes already underway in South Australia which have grown out of Professor Rinaldi's residency. The influence of the Reggio Emilia is rippling into our childcare centres, our preschools and our schools. This state government has shown it's open to innovation, to fresh thinking, and we are prepared to do things differently. And I know so are all of our educators. We are committed to doing whatever we can to improve the quality of our children's earliest formative experiences, to provide them with the stable and supportive relationships to which they are entitled, so that they in turn can be resilient, creative and self-determined. Professor Rinaldi, we acknowledge you as the rightful successor to Loris Magaluzzi, the founder of the Reggio Emilia approach. We know that there is worldwide respect for your work and that you are much in demand. And we thank you for what you have brought to us here in South Australia. Thank you.
Yeah, to start with.
Okay. Ciao. Big emotion also this time. First of all, I want to apologize, as usual, for my Italian English. In a year, my love for your country has improved. Has improved a lot, but my English, not in the same way. Unfortunately, I will try and I will try, but for now, I ask you to listen not only with your ears, but also with your heart, because I know that you will welcome also my bad English, but you, I'm sure, will appreciate the life that I intend to share with you. Before I arrived here last week, and in preparation for this moment, I wrote some words about South Australia, which I would like to read to you. You can read with me, maybe. South Australia has an amazing opportunity, as the ministers say, to think about early childhood. Early childhood as a new source that can inspire a big cultural, philosophical and economical change of the country. Early childhood that not simply want to offer services for family, but places of and for learning for children, teachers, parents and community, a learning community. South Australia can redesign a political and social project where democracy and education can find a fusional moment and can guarantee and offer a bottom-up process of participation, a new possible style of democracy. The well-being and the sustainability that comes as a consequence is the idea of a society that could be inspired by Aboriginal culture, where the welcoming and the well-being of the children is the welcoming and the well-being of all the human beings from 0 to 99 years of age, 102. The children become the best essence and expression, not only of human being, but of nature. We are humans and nature together, because we are the first of all part of the nature and of the universe. We are reciprocal. We are interdependent. We have to take the responsibility of our interdependency. The challenge for South Australia is not to separate or make a special pedagogy for the disabled, the disadvantaged, the vulnerable, the children at risk, or the Aboriginal children. For me, the challenge is to create a pedagogy, a school that are able to welcome all differences that come from the uniqueness of each child, of each human being, and create a context where the differences can learn to dialogue and enrich each other. The competent child is here, is in Australia, in South Australia, in every culture. The competent child is amazing, but it is amazing if we are able to make them visible. The competent child, the competent teacher, and the competent parent can and do exist in South Australia. They are waiting for our pedagogical, cultural, social, and political decision. Thanks.
Yeah. Now, Carla, you've presented us with a powerful vision there and quite a strong challenge to South Australia, and you've particularly referred to the competent child, and I know it's a concept you talk about a lot. Can you talk to me a bit about the competent child?
Yeah. You know, this is one of my preferred topics. That's why also I have to be controlled in my talking. Yes, I love to talk about this. It's a very unusual word for a child, especially for a baby child. In fact, generally, competent is an adult, a person that knows what to do and how to do. Is a person that knows exactly, and in general is a very culturated person. But on the other side, the children are defined adorable, cute, and other sweet words, but they are treated like needy and weak. And especially, we see what they are not able to do and not what they are able to say and to do. We don't relate their exploration, their action, what they do, with the concept of competence. But you said competent child. Competent in what? How can be a baby child competent? First of all, I want to underline again and again forever, competent in learning. Children are the best learners. Not only neurosciences and biology now confirm it, but everybody looking at a child, if he's able to look carefully at the child, can see it. Because the child knows very well that if she does not learn, they die. Without learning, you cannot live. In fact, learning is living. Life and learning are part of the same process. So the child is, first of all, competent in learning. Competent also in loving. In fact, learning is an act of love. We separate always learning and loving, but if you think carefully, they are strongly connected. is competent in communicating. Professor Malaguzzi used to say the child has 100 languages. He can express all his emotion, all her desire, using thousands of languages, eyes, languages, body languages, everything. But he is able also to listen all the languages and to communicate. As I like to remind you, the breastfeeding is a magic moment where we can see since the moment of birth that we have a strong, not only a strong emotion, but the first intense communicative moment. The mother knows it very well. And her eyes look at the eyes of the child, and something magic can happen. They are competent in trusting. It's amazing how children can trust us, each of us. They trust us. We should learn to trust them more and more. Because they, anyway, trust us, love us, and because they want to become part of our world. They are a sort of foreigner, the first foreigner from the universe. When they come to us, they really are foreigner. They have to learn everything, but in a short while, they do the miracle. Every child, every time a child is born, a miracle starts. Look at this. As usual, more than my words, pictures, and especially documents of children can help us to understand. Look at this.
Harry.
Harry. Harry is a 6 weeks old child. No, for sure, in people in general can say he's cute, he's nice, but not competent. We can say how competent Harry is. And now I need the help of Tina. But before, I want to thank the person who has taken these pictures, because they are really, really amazing. Switch back. No, back. Back. Again. Look at the eyes. Look at the expression of the face. Stay. Are you looking at him? There is a mirror in front. Six weeks. 6 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go. Something really unpredictable. Now we can start to interpret whatever you want. I think it's not simply reacting, is connecting, is developing a very high level. I see my friend there, the professor that agrees with me, is really doing something that is much more than a reaction. I don't say that he's recognizing himself, but he can for sure recognize a human face in the mirror, and this is amazing, 6 weeks old. And now, Gabe, I would like to underline also another key concept, that each child is unique. Each of us is unique. And each has his own way of learning and each own way of loving. I'm talking about all of us, here in this room and outside. And what we have to treasure is the uniqueness of each human being. Nobody like us, like this child, will never appear on the face of the earth. And this is another amazing element that we cannot forget. Each of us is a treasure of humanity, wherever we are, wherever we are born. I would like also, because this is another key idea, concept, recommend you really to preserve a part of your emotion, a part of your capacity of being amazed when you look at the child, when it starts to talk. It's amazing. 2 years of life and he starts to talk. One of the most difficult things is to talk. But also when he starts to play, when he starts to walk. And Ben is our friend, new friend. Ben, like Harry, they are born here in South Australia. They are living in Adelaide, or Ben is one of our children. Ben is 10 months old, isn't he?
Yes,
okay.
10 months, yep.
Ben is really solving a big problem. If you look carefully at this picture, there are 3 children running and playing together, but Ben wants to be part of the group. And he can only crawl, and to crawl is a very difficult, complex capacity. But look what happened now, Tina. Now, what you have to observe carefully is the big organization that is taking, because it's not easy to organize 2 legs and 2 arms together and to move from one step to the other. It's not easy. It's difficult. It's a real organization. Everybody thinks that to organize a company is difficult. It's not more difficult than what he's doing. It's not only cute. It's really working very hard to achieve the result. Go. Sorry, Tina, can you look at him? Go back. Okay, and now? Done. So, something that you can see every day in your house, in your school, but something that has a big value. But now let's us welcome a sort of a friend of Ben in terms of the capacity of being intense and strongly involved in the search of meaning of life. Now let's enjoy the power of Liam. Can you read this question, Gabe?
Why do we get different coloured apples like green and red, but bananas are always yellow?
It's amazing. Why? The famous why. And is a question that is not banal. And Liam, as Ben, has constructed a question. What we have to remember that we are very happy when we are able to solve a problem, but the real challenge is to be able to solve, to construct a question. Mm-hmm. And this question is in search of an answer. But as usual, I tend to underline, we have to remember that to be able to construct a question, a why, is one of the most challenging dimensions of the human thinking. And also, we have to remember that here there is the key point. Not for us as adults, not only teachers or parents, the key point is not to give immediately the answer to the child, but to help her or him to develop his own answer or his own theories. That means a satisfactory explanation able to give an answer to the question.
And Carla, you're saying children are constructing theories from birth.
Yeah. Because this is the most important capacity that a human being can have, is the capacity to construct questions and theories, is the way in which we can make humans more human. The child is in a permanent search of meaning, search for meaning and beauty. Meaning and beauty are very close. Beauty is not something external. Beauty is the key element for biology and for connecting the world and each other. Beauty is an attractor, is a connector. At this point, the children are incredibly self-disciplined. Disciplined? Disciplined. And at this point, thanks to our friends and your own experience and your reflection, we can say that learning is not dependent only on teaching. It's more the way in which a child is able to enter in a culture. Learning is more a strategy in which each child can enter in a culture. Learning is subjective, is personal. Every child, everybody learns in his own way. When he can, when she can, and when he wants, and when is want. Learning and loving cannot accept imperative. You cannot say to anybody, learn, love. They come. They come. Mm-hmm. Now we could talk, maybe we will do later, about a new concept of equity. If each of us is different, can we continue to offer the same things to everybody? This is a big issue.
That's a huge question.
Exactly. But what we have in common is we are all different, I said, but contemporary, we have to remember that all children are intelligent. All the children are competent. Disabled children included. It's time to stop, to underline that also disabled children are included. They are, first of all, children, so they are always included. And disability is one of the 1,000 million of differences that are among us. And so they are all intelligent. They can be all competent if, and we are the if. If we, parents, school, we, parents, school, society, we are able to construct places, able to welcome each of them, able to welcome all of them with all their differences: gender, ethical, ethnical, ability, disability. And this is, for me, one of the biggest political and ethical issues. To welcome this means really to take the responsibility as a society of a big switch, of a big change of paradigm, to stop to separate, recognizing the status of childhood to all the children in their own differences, with many different needs, but with the same right to be children. So, the other things that we have in common, even if we are all different, and the children have in common, is that they are researchers. Oh, look at this picture. The eyes of the daughter of Todd, Todd's daughters.
Todd's daughter.
Todd's daughters.
Chelsea.
And the eyes of a Nobel Prize, Brian Smith. Nobel Prize is Australian Nobel
Yes,
Prize.
yes.
What they have in common, why they are together in the same picture, because both they are researchers. Obviously, it's a different meaning that we give to the word research when we talk about a Nobel Prize and we talk about the child, but the essence is the same. Like real researchers, the children make theories, they make experiments, they share, they fail, they succeed, they continue, they struggle, they use a big effort with curiosity, with desire, with a lot of creativity. They search for the meaning of life. They search for something unknown, like the Nobel Prize. And I think, like Picasso did, a Nobel Prize can be honored to be compared to a child. You remember when Picasso said, I took the life to draw like a child? The Nobel Prize can say, I have maintained the spirit of research that I got when I was a child. So that's because in this we have the other big secret that make children special. That is creativity. Because in this attitude to research, to construct theory, to make hypotheses, to search for meaning, here we have the source of creativity. Creativity cannot be taught. You cannot organize the hour of creativity. Creativity is a dimension of human being and is part of this way of thinking. We are talking about creative thinking as an essential part of thinking. Creativity is a part of our way of thinking. We have two kinds of thinking, convergent and divergent. In society, we tend to cultivate the convergent way of thinking. What is important is also to cultivate what the child has when he's born, the divergent way of thinking. Then some of us can become painter, actor, famous, but creativity is the right of each of us. A creative mind is needed for the present and for the future.
But you're also suggesting it's not just the right of each of us, you're saying it is in each of us.
Is in each of us. And essentially, they can be also creative because they are used to share theory, idea with the others. children are not jealous of their own idea. Instead, if you look at them carefully, when they have something new, oh, I have an idea, and they run to the friends, and they like to exchange, to excitement, shareability. They are not competitive. They become competitive. They are cooperative, as it is in the essence of human being. They are able to learn not only as a person, as subject in a group, but to learn as a group. They are able to build a connective mind, a collective mind. They are able to cultivate what we are losing, the spirit of us as part of myself. I am also us. And this is why, as you ask me, I continue to be in love with this vision that is a revolutionary vision of the competent child. And this was the essence of the Reggio experience.
Thank you, Carla. That's a terrific description of that, because I think the notions of competence about little babies is a bit hard for some of us to think about, and I think you've made it really clear. And I dare you all, us all, to bring that idea next time we see a tiny child in a little pusher in the street or in our workplaces. I think it's a fantastic idea. I also love the words that Carla always uses about that. She says, and since I'm going to have a granddaughter, my first granddaughter, any time, the notion that when a competent child is born, a competent parent is born, is a tremendous idea as well.
And also the competent grandparent is born.
We can only hope. Okay, now I have something else I'd like to explore with you, which is you often use the word childhood, not only the word children when you're talking to us in your formal writing. What's the difference in your mind between children and childhood, and why do you make the distinction?
This is a very important question, and I will try to read a little bit more, not only for taking less time, but also because it's I hope to be clear enough in explaining this, because this is a very important key question at a cultural, social, and political level. Childhood is in fact, more than children, is a different concept. Only recently, in the last century, the concept of childhood came out, not only as a phase of our life, not only as a responsibility of the family to take care, but also as a political, cultural, social subject that emerged on the scene of our countries. A new political, social, cultural subject. So we are not anymore talking about, when we talk about childhood, not anymore talking about children in a family, but children as a group in society, a group of citizens. Is clear enough? Because childhood does not exist. Is defined in different country and society through law and rights. So childhood is not to summarize one child to another child to another child. It's something more. It's like when we talk about workers, we talk about women, now we can talk about childhood. When UNICEF in 1950 wrote the rights of children, that sometimes are still now heavily betreated, they wrote something essential that is still now hard in our society to recognize as a subject. Not only each child, but the entire community of all the children together, not only in their own family, but as a subject, since the moment of birth. When your grandchild will not be only the daughter or the son of your daughter. He will be a citizen of Adelaide. And Adelaide has to be proud of her new citizen. That's the difference. They will take care of her or him, but the city has to take care of her or him. Children, in fact, have rights not only as son or daughter, but as citizen from the moment of birth. Right to be educated. Right to go to quality service and school. Quality, service and school. Right to be welcome in the hospitals with their parents. Rights to be welcome in the city. Rights to beauty. Rights even if they do not vote, even if they are not productive, economically talking. Rights as value.
Can I ask you, a lot of people are edgy about it when you have conversations about children having rights. A lot of people worried that that's somehow going to destroy the authorities of teachers or families.
Yes, in Italy also we have this kind of terrible telephone that children can sometimes call and they
it's called a helpline.
and has not to be misunderstood, I hope. Because the rights that I am talking about are those that are beautiful, that are generous. Because the real rights, they are generous. They are reciprocal. The rights generates rights.
Explain that.
The rights of women generate the rights of children. The right of women to go to work generates the rights of children, not simply to have a place where to go, but to have good educational places where to go. The right of the mother, the right of the children generate also new rights for the mother and for the father. They are reciprocal. They are reciprocal especially because they generate duties. Rights, in my opinion, don't exist without duties. Each right is also a duty. My first right is to see my rights defended by the others, by you. My first duty is to defend the rights of the others. This is the deepness of reciprocity.
Can I read that again, Carla? Because I think that's a really key point. Carla just said then that my first right is to see my rights defended by others. My first duty is to defend the right of others. I think that's quite a good answer to that.
This is the deep concept of interdependent reciprocity. And also rights are place of encounters and negotiation. And children and adults can be educated together to have rights. Rights have to be understood. We have to take responsibilities of our rights.
So when it's got this reciprocity built in it, it's not a threat to the authority of a teacher or a parent.
No.
It's something other than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much more.
Great.
Is really And then we can move to the concept of rules, okay?
And then I'm going to move us on to the next question.
Okay. No, I want to simply to underline that we're talking about rights and duty. Each right generates a duty that is not only to defend the right, but also to do something for that right, that is your right, but is also my rights. But rules are key because they are application of rights. Children need to have rules. Rules is clear. There are no freedom without rules. We have to remember that rules have to be constructed together. The real meaning of rules are not recipes, rules, are place of encounters, and they have to be deeply understood like rights.
Thank you. Now, can I move us on to our next question?
Okay.
We've talked a lot about, taking that into account, I'd like to ask you what you think the role of school is today. Big question, but a relevant one for this audience.
Yeah. I hope that they are not too tired.
I wanted to say also, when we're using the word school in this context, we're really talking about a noun that covers all education and care from birth. So it covers the whole gamut. We have a whole lot of different words that we use about preschool and kindergarten, etc., but we're using school for the purposes of talking and including everybody who's working and caring for children from birth.
Is another provocation for your reflection, like to talk about the competent child, like to talk about childhood, like to talk about rights.
Or theories.
Or theories are elements for reflection, not only of each of you, but for this country that is really taking very seriously the dimension of children.
So what does this all mean for school?
School, in general, they are considered as a place to learn to read, to learn to write, to be disciplined. Especially the school for the youngest, as you describe, they are the famous place to prepare for the future, to prepare for life, to preschool, pre-reading, pre-writing, to take children to be ordained outcomes. Pre. It's time really to cancel pre. Because school is not a preparation for life, but life is a real, deep, important part of your life.
School is life.
School is life. Jerry Brunner likes a lot this statement. And he said that life itself is school. But for sure, school is life. And the question becomes more urgent nowadays because we are talking about the role of school in contemporary society. Contemporary, that is a digital era, e-learning, everything. And somebody says, maybe it's time to cancel schools. Why we continue to build school? Why a society looking at the future has to continue to have a school? I hope that the minister is not too worried about this question. But I think the answer still continue to be, we need to have a school, to have good school. First of all, because they are a fundamental place for education of the citizen and communities, including infant, toddler, and preschool. Not only a place where to transmit culture, but nowadays more than ever, place where to construct culture and values. Culture of childhood and culture from childhood. That means that the children are better constructor of elements that can renew the culture, are the best source for our renewing culture.
That links to that creativity idea too, doesn't it?
Everything.
Children as
yes.
this creative entity.
The way in which they approach life
Yeah.
is not something that we have observed like if they were out of our life. Is an amazing source for renewing our questions and our way of approaching life. They are the source for creativity, for creative thinking. They can be the source for changing, really. The concept of ecological approach, holistic approach, we have to explain each other. Children know exactly what it means because they have a natural, biological, holistic approach. And they are very able to welcome the nature. We continue to talk about to teach nature to children. Children are nature. And if you observe a child crawling in the grass or in the sand, you see how fusional they can be. So what we have to develop is this approach and to learn from them, not imitating them, but being surprised with them and learning from them. So school is a place where to develop also this. But developing also solidarity, reciprocity, interdependency.
And what do you mean when you say that? When you say school is a place to learn reciprocity and interdependency, what do you mean?
I mean a strategy where we can together to construct the answer, to build the knowledge together, and to understand that I am because you are. You give me the feeling of my being. I cannot exist without you. The solitude does not exist. It's only a cultural decision. But we are all together, interdependent. And if my well-being is interdependent from your well-being, and if I hurt you, I hurt myself. And if you are the nature, I hurt myself. It's time to stop to make fragment, to separate real and reality and dreams, and also to separate fantasy and reality. It's time to put together and to have all together. Because what we need for the future is a human being that still already exists in the present and has the quality of our children. If we are able to support those qualities, to be amazed by them, and we have the courage also to learn from our own children. And that's why I think can be really important to understand that not only children learn from our world and from ourselves, but we can learn a lot from them.
You also talked about linking to what you said before, that school is a place for research, for constant research.
Oh, yeah. I said before, yes, the children are researchers. And I can add here, maybe we will talk a little, teachers are also researchers, if children are researchers. This is the real academy.
And I'm going to interrupt there and take us on to the next question, which links here, which is the role of teachers and educators in school.
For sure, but let me just underline.
Sure.
for those that are watching the picture, part of this new way of learning together, essential part is the environment. Mm-hmm. The environment, because the environment become part of the learning process. It's not neutral. Because if you learn with your mind, you know that nowadays, through all what we know, mind is also in our body. Mind is our body. That means that the entire environment become part. So when we talk about the architecture of the buildings, we talk also about the architecture of mind.
Great, thank you. So what about the role of teachers and educators in today's schools? If school has this cultural purpose, school is a place of research, school is a place that supports creativity, etc., what about the role of teachers and educators?
I hope that I didn't give to the audience the idea that everything comes so easy, but everything can come. And this is the reason why I think in Reggio, after 50 years, we continue not only to believe, but to testimony that is possible, to look at children in this way. And also it's possible to think about teachers and their role as something that is almost at the opposite. I can say that the most important role of teacher is to learn. To learn how to be better teachers. To learn how to be better educators. To learn from the learning processes of their own children to be better educators. So the learning processes of the children can support the teacher to be better educator, to be able to create a context of participation, of love, a place of well-being for everybody. Children, teachers themselves, and parents. They become a learning community. And to go to school has to be a joy. Has to be a moment of, you have to have the right to go to school with excitement, curiosity. We are, for our children and our teenagers, too often separated life from school. School is anyway a piece of life and has to be joyful. The joy of discovering of those children has to be the joy of discovering of everybody, teenagers and adults too. It's a place of research, we say, but is especially a place of listening. Listening, first of all, what? Listening to the children, to their 100 languages, to their own theories, that are this extraordinary explanation that we say. To listen the 100 ways of expressing and of knowing that the children have. And I think that not only those wonderful pictures, but probably to go and visit the exhibition yeah, can be very useful for understanding that what I am sharing with you not only is possible, but is visible. Making learning visible was the most provocative challenge that our teacher took through documentation, going step by step behind us, learning the traces of the learning processes of the children. The way in which they learn has been testimony and showed. So in the exhibit you will not see the children of Reggio, you will see children learning, discovering, enjoying together. You will see learning processes made visible. You will have with your children, with your colleagues, with as adults, the joy to discover the beauty, not only of your own children, but you will recognize your own children in those pictures, in those documentation, and you will recognize childhood in there. Maybe exhibit really is the best way of understanding the power of childhood as a source for the future.
Fantastic, and can I just say, in case you didn't notice, there's a wonderful exhibit now launched at the State Library, supported by the Department for Education and Child Development and Catholic Education SA. Thanks for that. It was really tremendous that you've done it, and it is a really marvellous exhibition. It's on from 8th of April to the 10th of May at the State Library. Please go and see it, and you'll get the flavour and the feeling for these concepts that Carla is sharing with you. Carla, this really takes us really straightforward to the question of listening. You talk about documentation and listening. I'm going to make this move a bit faster now.
Okay.
But if you would just talk to us for a little bit about the importance of the word listening, the meaning of listening for teachers and for schools.
Listening is the wonderful and generous act that you are doing now. Listening is not only a simple act of hearing with your ears, something deeper and much more profound. Means to welcome not only what I said, myself, my idea, my opinion. You can agree or not, but we are together. What I say is not are not my words, but what you understand. Listening means to be open, to welcome the other and the otherness. Listening is the deepest meaning that connect together learning and teaching. To be able to listen each other, to be able to document, to make visible the process of learning of the children and of the teacher. To be allowed to make mistake, to be allowed to feel welcome wherever you do and whatever you do and wherever you are, to be able to be welcome as a human being. Listening is the key verb for not only for our relationship in school, early childhood, but in society. To listen is to be able to change. To listen is to be able to know towards the unknown, to welcome the other, is probably the best, the verb of peace.
Thank you so much. Now I'm just going to read something, Carla, that you have written about education that you asked me to read. I think it has a wonderful precision, and Carla asked would I read it to you. Generally, education is seen as a tool for teaching skills, in particular reading and writing in schools. But contemporary society, local and global, requires us to refresh our understanding of what it means to educate. The world is changing. I want to stress that today we need more than full minds, we need good thinkers. To educate means building together identity and future. It is a lifelong process. It is a reciprocal process. Educating, this present participle, is not describing a quality or a state of mind, but it's a permanent process. An educating organisation allows this process to never end. An educating society allows this process to never end. This is a challenge to perceptions that view education as leading to end products. The more common definition of the verb to educate comes from its Latin roots exducere, coming out, to bring out. But it is important that each child receives every chance, not simply to be, but also to become what he or she could be.
Give each of us the possible. The possibility to dream, not only about what we are, but what we would like. This is really the strongest message. And to educate, to know that is a permanent process, is a sort of long life learning that the community can take care or responsibility for, is the best way in which you can age, because aging can be fantastic if you are in health and if you can continue not only to educate but to be educated in this gesture of enormous reciprocity. Feel it maintain you part of the world. It help you really to feel the deep feeling of eternity that is there, and start from the first moment and continue forever. Also when you are not here anymore, but what you have done is part of this enormous dimension that education has not to transmit, but to renew. Nobody can anymore only transmit. Everybody has to take the responsibility to renew, to construct a piece of better future for everybody.
Wow, I agree. Carla, you've offered us lots of these possibilities, and I know we now begin to think, how can we do it? And I know that many of you have been working all year in beginning your own journey of how can we do it. But in fact, we've already begun, haven't we?
Yeah. This is the moment where I would like to share, not only with you, but with all this audience, that what I said, these words that you have understood less or more because of my English or because they are unusual, they are not only words, they are not only possible in Reggio Emilia, but they exist here in South Australia, here in Adelaide, and this is why I really would like to invite a group of wonderful friends that can enjoy us, me and us. Dana.
Do come up. Okay.
Ciao, Dana. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Helen, sorry, Helen. Really welcome. Thanks. Thanks. Welcome, welcome. Dwayne, this terrible name, I exercise a lot. Marco. I call you Marco, so it's easier for me. Okay? Kate, thanks. Oh. No, Dwayne, I've learned. You can. It's a beautiful name, but difficult for an Italian.
Would you all introduce yourselves when you start talking? Just, yeah. Carla, go on.
I would like to ask
Donna.
each of you, Dana. Now I got confused with the name, but I will do best. Okay, sorry. Dana, no, Dana, I know you very well. Each of you, and starting from Dana, what did it mean for you to encounter the competent child? How have you changed? Think from here.
Okay.
Think from here.
Sure. So, Carla, you know that my centre is very complex, and with exploring the competent child, you inspired us to see that it was right there in front of us and we didn't need to look beyond the centre because we had children there that were fantastic already, and we now see them with respect and see them as learners alongside us. So it's changed the centre dramatically, and we can't unknow what we know now. We can only learn more along with our children.
Thank you very much.
Where is your centre, Donna? Where is it?
My centre's in Salisbury North. We're a Good Start early learning centre, and we've been working towards our change for about 2 years, but really, really working hard at it for the last 12 months with our children and with my team of educators.
So the competent child is there.
It's there.
It's there.
It's there.
Is she helping you?
Sorry?
Is he helping you, the competent child?
Every day we learn something new, and it's because the children teach us.
Thank you. Helen, can you introduce yourself and
I will, Carla, thank you. I'm Helen Ward and I'm the principal of All Saints Catholic Primary School. We have 520 children at our school and they are from reception to year 7, so we don't have a preschool or a kindy. And I think it's really important in one way that I'm here tonight, up here, because a lot of people, obviously we're talking from Reggio, which is a 0 to 5 project, so why is a school like my school interested in this? And we're actually incredibly passionate about it, and we've been on this journey for about 7 years. And when I first heard Jan Milliken speak in Melbourne, I came away feeling excited, more excited and thrilled, with a sense of possibilities of something that I wanted to do at our school. And I encouraged lots of teachers at our school to, go and get some training and understand. It was a long journey. It's still a journey. We have not finished at all. But I want to tell a little bit of a story about some things that have had a huge impact on our school. Our school down south, where a lot of the families have a lot of complex issues, a lot of children, lots of anxiety, lots of anger. Anyway, one of the things we did to try to explore this philosophy at All Saints was just to start looking at our classroom environments. And we started with the early years because obviously that was the easiest place to start because of the Reggio Emilia 0 to 5 program. And we started to see some real changes in the children in the way that they were encountering their learning. And it was very exciting for us to see that, and it was nice, and we looked around and we just started to notice that the children were coming in less anxious. So we got rid of a lot of unnecessary things in the room, created a bit more space. So we were doing a lot of this work. And then 4 years ago, we had a class of Year 5 children, and it was a very unhappy class. There were angry children. The learning was minimal. It was really dysfunctional, and it was very upsetting for everybody. And we needed to do something really quickly. So one of the things we did was we actually we changed the teacher, to tell the truth, and I'm not going any further with that other than to say it was necessary to do so for the well-being of the teacher and for the children. Anyway, this lovely teacher said, look, I'm going to take this class, and I said to her, look, the one thing you need to do is change that way that classroom looks, because, if those kids come back from the holidays, I'm thinking they're going to think it's all going to be the same. Anyway, she was very unfamiliar with the philosophy, and she decided she'd just copy what was happening in the early years. So she created more space. She grouped the tables together, which suggested a collaborative approach to learning. She introduced some objects of beauty. It became more light, and what we witnessed was an absolutely remarkable shift in these children in the way they approached their classroom. This classroom invited the children to be in there and to do their learning. And that's exactly what happened. And I remember this teacher saying to me, Helen, I don't really know why I'm doing this. And I said, well, that doesn't matter. I think that's learning, that's researching, that's finding out what we can actually do. And it wasn't smooth sailing, and it wasn't just making a pretty classroom. I think this is really important to note. What happened was the children felt they wanted to be in that room. It just spoke of respect for themselves and for the environment that they were in. The relationships were restored, they were rebuilt, and there was a relationship for learning that happened in that room. And I remember just feeling in my heart going, this is it, this is what we're talking about, and this is what's really important, that we need to create rooms which really have this effect on children. And we haven't looked back, and that teacher accompanied me to Reggio study tour last year, and she's now one of my lead teachers who are promoting the philosophy. So that's just a little bit of our story. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Thank you. So Is it possible for me to continue to say that the teacher have to be also learners? Do you agree about this? So that's, and it's also what you felt during this process? You felt?
Did you feel this too during this
Did you
process?
feel, sorry?
The whole journey, every day of every year that we're on this journey is so powerful. And I've been to the Reggio study tour twice now, and I was surprised by my second visit because I was even more uplifted, more excited, and more challenged by the things that I heard. And I'm very fortunate my school is committed to, in another 2 years, to send more teachers back. So far 7 teachers have gone, and it's marvellous, and I've been lucky to go twice. So it's a wonderful journey.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Dwayne Marco.
Hi, as Carla's just said, let's go with Marco. But no, my name is Dwayne Holloway. I'm actually a father of twin boys who attend the Halifax Childcare Centre. When I first became a dad, as probably hundreds of you out there have become parents, I didn't know what to expect with the children, and it's only through sitting down and observing them through the play with each other, through the play with other children, that I've discovered what a competent child or a competent person actually is. They already knew how to interact. They already knew what they wanted to do when they were looking at an item or an object or a situation. And if I didn't intervene in a way, they were more than happy to show me what they already knew as that competent person. And each of them have proved that when they tackled the tasks or the experiences, it was as unique individuals. So whilst they both had a very similar upbringing because they spent 24/7 with each other, they still were unique, competent individuals, which was just astounding to me.
Thank you so much.
Grazie.
My name is Kate Ryan. I'm the director at Halifax Street Children's Centre and Preschool.
You said the word.
Carla, for me, your visits have been perfectly timed. I have 3 wonderfully competent granddaughters, and to have my eyes and my ears and my mind opened so that I can see them as competent, but really to truly believe that they are competent has been a gift. So thank you. What I wanted was to realise, I wanted other people to see these girls in this way. Not so that they could say how pretty they were to admire them, but so that these girls have every opportunity to learn and to grow. And I thought, if I want this for these children, surely every family wants this for their children. And this, perhaps, for me as an educational leader, has become my learning this year. And for me to not only see children as competent, but for me in my work to see parents as competent and to see educators as competent has been very important. So after your first visit, some colleagues from my region and myself formed a book club, and we read your book, Making Learning Visible. Well, actually, it's a really hard book and we're still reading it, but we are trying to really understand what this means for us in South Australia. And when I talked about the book club with the teachers in my centre, they were so interested in this idea that they formed their own book club, an imitation book club if you like, and they are also reading Making Learning Visible, but they're very, very keen, and their meeting time is 7 o'clock on a Friday morning, so they are very, very keen. The provocations from coming to your lectures, to participating in the workshops and to reading Making Learning Visible has challenged us at Halifax Street to find ways to create time in every day so that teams of educators can be involved in talking about children's learning, about sharing the documentation that they have of children's learning, and trying to make visible for ourselves and for the children, but also for the parents and our local community, the learning and the competence of these very, very young children. And this is a change, and as you say, a switch. normally we would perhaps say this particular child is a difficulty, and this child is a problem for us, we need to fix this child. But the switch for us has been to say, how can we understand the process of learning and the learning of life that this child is showing us? It's a very challenging way to work, but it's also very inspirational, and whenever I stand up from my desk I can look out the window and see our babies learning and living and loving every day, and it's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Kate. Now, I'm very conscious of the time. We haven't had much. Thank you, everybody, for your comments, and please stay with us on the stage as we move to a gracious but robust conclusion.
Let me say only thanks to all of them, who they are, what they have done, who they represent. Teachers and parents are really the author of the Reggio history and of the present and the future of this country. Really, thank you very much. Without teachers and parents, any law, any regulation can change. You are the secret. Thank you very much.
We are not going to get time to talk to you in any detail about the recommendations. I will just invite that slide to go forward to show them to you. And there's just few words from Carla I'd like to ask you to speak about, Carla. The report, as I say, will hold the recommendations in a great deal of detail, and that will be produced within, 16 weeks, and available to everybody online and in a printed form as well. But Carla, there was one particular thing you wanted to say about the recommendations, about it not being a recipe.
Yeah, it's better if I read, so I'm faster. Yeah. I want to explain that the recommendation will not be like recipes, because the recipes don't fit with the vision for education and early childhood that we have described tonight. What I will offer are invitation for change and points for reflection. I offer you principle as a compass. You have to take your own decision and responsibility. The recommendation will come as a consequence, but you will need to design them. The recommendation will be around some principle, and maybe. Yeah.
We won't read them out, but we will just flick through them so the audience can look at them, just not that fast.
But we have been talking the educating community and educating society. Children as citizens from birth, pedagogy, teaching and learning, environment as an essential part of the learning process. North, south, east and west. And in between, there are recommendations, but there are your own choices. Because education is really, first of all, to take risk. Risk of what you believe, not is the best, but what you believe you have to have the strength to continue for the present and for the future.
Thank you so much, Carla. And one exciting, it's not news and not announceable yet, but certainly the University of South Australia is in serious conversations with the residency and the partners around the table about a master's program, which we all think is a very exciting possibility. And there are many other things like that happening, being led by numbers of the partners around the table who are all deeply, deeply invested in moving this forward in South Australia. So, my Carla, I think we are coming to the end of the evening. I would like to ask everybody to join me in a round of applause for Carla Rinaldi.